Before we begin today's show, we want to take a minute to send our condolences to those that were affected by the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse that occurred in Baltimore earlier this morning. Numerous players within the organization have issued statements of support, and we also heard from the Baltimore Ravens with their reaction as well as they released this statement earlier today saying the following. Our hearts go out to those who've been affected by this horrific Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse early this morning. We are grateful for the first responders and local leaders who are on the scene to lead the search and rescue efforts to support those families who have been directly impacted. We know that the Baltimore community will stand together in the aftermath of this tragic event. It's very sad news, and certainly we're thinking of those that are affected by this situation. We will continue with the news of the day here on this edition of Ravens Rundown. We'll begin with that right now here on today's show. Coming up on our Ravens Rundown, we have the latest on the potential returns of Jadeveon Clowney as well as Kyle Van Noy. John Harbaugh chimed in on both of them. We'll bring that to you here in just a bit. Also, could the Ravens potentially still bring back Dalvin Cook or J.K. Dobbins? John Harbaugh addressed that as well. Which running back could they re-sign or neither? We'll dissect that situation in just a bit. Folks, we're getting very close to 16,000 subscribers here on Ravens Rundown. Less than 100 away from reaching that next milestone. For the latest happenings on your favorite team, we got you covered like no one else does each and every day here on Ravens Rundown, talking trades, free agency, the draft, and more. Anything that happens to your Baltimore Ravens, you're going to be the first to know about it here on the channel. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get going. Could we see the Ravens bring back Jadeveon Clowney or Kyle Van Noy in 2024? Both veterans had impressive campaigns for the Baltimore Ravens this past season, and both of them were late additions to the roster this past year. But despite all that, they adapted quickly and were a pivotal piece to the success of the best defense in the National Football League this past season. The NFL annual meetings going on in Florida, and Ravens head coach John Harbaugh chimed in on both of them as their free agents, the possibility of bringing them back. John Harbaugh said there is optimism on re-signing Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy. He's been texting both of them. Harbaugh said he's hopeful to bring back one or both of them this offseason. Now, it's no secret the Ravens aren't in the best situation when it comes to the salary cap. And you look at Clowney specifically, he's got a lot of potential interest outside of Baltimore. He's got a pretty wide market, specifically the New York Jets. We heard that the Jets had a really good meeting with him when they spoke a couple of days ago. I think that it's unlikely that you bring back both with your limitations on money and with Clowney having some interest from other teams. I would think that Van Noy is more likely to return than Clowney. And when you look at the numbers of what's being thrown out there, Kyle Van Noy is a guy that doesn't look like he's going to cost a whole lot. About a one-year, $1.4 million deal could get you Kyle Van Noy back to Baltimore, which is very, very reasonable. Meanwhile, Clowney, his number is significantly more. You're looking at about a one-year, $7.3 million deal if you're going to bring Clowney back to this Baltimore Ravens team. You look at the numbers, both players were very good this past season. In 14 games played, we saw Van Noy come up with 9 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, 4 pass breakups with 30 tackles. Clowney played all 17 games with 9.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 5 pass breakups, 43 tackles. I know Mike Macdonald's gone, and these guys excelled in that Mike Macdonald system. But even with that said, it's still the same system in place. You bring them back to Baltimore, I think either one would be impact players for this Baltimore Ravens team. Now, what about you guys? If you had to pick one to re-sign, if the Ravens can't bring both guys back, which one would you rather have? If it's Kyle Van Noy, type K for Kyle Van Noy. If it's Jadeveon Clowney, type C for Jadeveon Clowney. Weigh in the comment section which one would you rather have. Let us know what you think. Pleased to welcome back to the show our friends at Game Time. And I got to tell you, I love Game Time. It is the best way to get tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, and more. The best seats, the lowest prices, guaranteed with Game Time. And I know that the Ravens are in the offseason, but there's still plenty to do in the Charm City, including seeing your Baltimore Orioles on opening day. Here's how it works, folks. You download the Game Time app, choose the event you want to go to. They have all sorts of different seat options, and you try to find the deals, right? That's what Game Time does best. From there, you choose your seat, and then, voila, you're checking out, whether it's with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo. They make it very easy. And if I need to give you any added incentive to download Game Time, here's what I got for you, folks. You can download Game Time and on your first purchase, save $20 off when you use the promo code CHATSPORTS. So if you're looking to save a little bit on that Orioles opening day, we got you covered with Game Time, folks. And I got to tell you, when I saw the Orioles play last season, I used Game Time. I saved big. You can save big with Game Time, too. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Terms and conditions do apply. Download Game Time today. Promo code ChatSports for $20 off. Start saving with the best in the ticket biz. That's Game Time. Download Game Time today. John Harbaugh also weighed in on the Ravens running back situation. They made a big splash with the signing of Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell is expected to be back mid-season, but the Ravens will likely add another back to their arsenal. And according to Harbaugh, he was open about the possibility of bringing in Dalvin Cook or J.K. Dobbins back to this Ravens team in 2024. Listen to this from Harbaugh. We're just going to see how that shakes out. There's some moving pieces to that part. I'll just let Eric DeCosta handle that. If we bring one of those two guys back, I'd be happy to do it. If we're not able to do it, we'll find some young guys. Now, when I look at the two, if we're going to just compare J.K. Dobbins and Dalvin Cook, I can't trust J.K. Dobbins to stay healthy. That has been a problem his entire career. And if all things are equal here, I'll take Dalvin Cook over J.K. Dobbins. But in actuality, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, both these guys are several years older now. They're not the same running backs that they once were. You're probably better off just going with younger running backs anyway, whether it's a late-round draft pick or a UDFA like we saw what the Ravens did with Keaton Mitchell last year. There are better options than having to bring these guys back because the small sample size that we saw from Cook and Dobbins last year, it wasn't great, if we're going to be honest with you. Dalvin Cook played one regular season game for the Jets. J.K. Dobbins played one regular season game with the Ravens before he got hurt. And we heard about problems with Dalvin Cook with that New York Jets organization not being a right fit. He played a little bit in that first playoff game, but was MIA, nowhere to be found. They didn't even use him in the second playoff game. You look at the numbers here. Dobbins is projected to be looking for about a 2-year, $4.4 million contract is the money that he's looking for. It's no secret that J.K. Dobbins has been wanting a multi-year deal. The way that he's talked about this over the last couple of years with the Ravens organization. Meanwhile, Dalvin Cook is looking at about a 1-year, $4.4 million deal wherever he goes. And the benefit of the doubt that I would give to Dalvin Cook compared to J.K. Dobbins is that we didn't see much of Dalvin Cook in that Ravens uniform. You could argue that we don't have a big enough sample size, right? Compared to J.K. Dobbins, I've seen this show for a few years now. And I'm just at a point where I'm throwing in the towel on J.K. Dobbins. I'm giving up. You look at the Ravens rushing attack of the numbers that we saw from this group in 2023. Lamar Jackson, this was supposed to be a role where he was supposed to do less in this Todd Monken offense, right? The expectation, they were hoping that he wouldn't lead this team in rushing. Well, when J.K. Dobbins went down and Keaton Mitchell went down, Lamar took on more of the load, and he ended up leading this team in rushing with over 800 yards. You got to find somebody to take the load from Gus Edwards. Derrick Henry obviously do a lot of that. Keaton Mitchell, we mentioned, probably not getting back till midseason here. I like Justice Hill, too. I think Justice Hill will see an increased role in this Ravens backfield in 2024. And you got the best fullback in the game in Patrick Ricard as well in this. So I think the Ravens running back room, this backfield is solid, but the job's not finished. I agree with Harbaugh that they're going to add one more, but I would be surprised still if it's Dobbins or Cook back. I'd take Cook over Dobbins, but I don't think that's saying much at this point. Which one would you rather sign, given the choice? Would you rather go J.K. Dobbins, or would you rather go Dalvin Cook? Type D for J.K. Dobbins, type C for Dalvin Cook. Let us know in the comments section which one you would like to roll with. Thanks for joining us here on today's show. Help us reach that next milestone, 16,000 subs. I would love to get there before the end of the week. Let's see if we can make it happen. We'll see you next time right here on Ravens Rundown.